given the fact that he's supposed to be one of the world's best batsmen, he didn't do enough justice. Take a look at Virat Kohli's scorecard through this tournament. 107, but then he hasn't been able, Dada, to convert any of these 40s and 30s into another imposing ton. What did you make of that atrocious shot that he played, getting out just when he'd come in? He seemed under pressure, trying to take on the Aussie pace bowlers and getting out in the manner that he did. Why do you think he ended up playing that rather rash stroke?
You know, Rahul, when you're chasing 329, you get 7 or 8 delivered dot balls, you panic, and it happens to every cricketer in the world. Virat Kohli is at a fabulous tour of Australia, 500s in the last 4 months in this country. I don't think many batsmen have achieved that in this part of the world. You know, you're up against the best fast bowlers in the world, Mitchell Johnson, Mitchell Starc, who are outstanding today. You look at Mitchell Starc, 10 overs for 30 in these conditions, and how well he's bowled. So when you have those dot deliveries and you're chasing 329, you see a short ball and your eyes lit up. So sometimes it's not right to blame somebody for getting out. As I said, we've been outplayed by a very good side. Virat Kohli for me is an outstanding player. He's one of the best in the world at the moment, and he's at a fabulous time in Australia. It's just that it didn't pay off for him tonight.
You know, and especially if you see the reactions of the Indian fans, they're blaming who? They're blaming Anushka Sharma for Virat Kohli's form. And Dada, that to my mind is terribly, terribly unfair. Because yes, that poor girl, no, I mean, not a poor girl, I mean, she was there in the stands to support him and cheer for him. But in the manner in which the Indian fans have gone after Anushka, they would almost make it seem as if because Anushka was sitting there, he was distracted and he wanted to show off and try to hit that ball and got out. That's the way fans are decoding that. Isn't that rather unfair, Dada?
Yeah, that's absolutely childish stuff, isn't it? I think people need to grow up and get out of all this nonsense at the moment. You know, your families support you. And it's not just Anushka Sharma, there are other families of the players who've been on the tour to Australia. When we played, we had our own families. I'm sure Simo, when he was traveling around the world, he's had his girlfriend or family with him supporting him. They're not distractions, they actually push you to play better. And I really feel sorry for her, but I'm sure they both go through this, we've all gone through this, and all we can do is just ignore and move forward.
Nikhil, did it make a difference at all? There was just this one moment when Kohli came out to bat, and then on that big screen they cut to Anushka, and just for a moment everybody looked up to the same screen. A lot was being made of how just in that one particular moment he might have got distracted and went on to play that rash stroke.
No, I don't think so. You know, when you're in that sort of zone, you're in the field of play, you're oblivious to what's happening. Fair enough, you see the face on the big screen, but I don't think Virat Kohli is a far, far better cricketer and far better player to get distracted with all these sort of distractions. At the end of the day, he had a job in hand. Had he got out on 40s and 50s, then you could have said maybe lapse of concentration. It's the initial part, getting from the first run to about 20 runs is the most difficult part for any batsman, because you want to gauge the pace and bounce of the wicket. Chasing 328 runs, it's not an easy task. You know, the pressure with every single dot ball that you play, Rahul, you know, the asking run rate tends to creep up very, very quickly. And Virat knows that. And we all know at the end of the day, when you're looking to chase 328, if somebody, you know, from the Indian side had to stand up and get a big enough 100 and take the game deep, it would have been Virat. But unfortunately, it was not his night. So I guess, you know, whoever's blaming Anushka, it is so very unfortunate and unfair on unnecessarily putting more pressure on Virat Kohli.
No, that's really terrible, Andrew, because at the end of the day...
Rahul, I just want to add one more thing to what Nikhil said.
Yes, Dada.
You know, I was here even during the test matches when Virat Kohli was getting hundreds at the MCG and at the SCG, and even Anushka Sharma was there at the stands watching him play. So he got big hundreds there as well. So you know, it's just poor thinking from the people.
Yeah, absolutely. I think at the end of the day, what he does or doesn't do is dependent entirely on the batsman himself. Was there any one moment in the match, Andrew, when a particular Indian wicket fell and you thought, okay, we can sit back, open the lager because we've got this set and we're going to the finals? Was it Kohli's wicket? Was it Dhoni's wicket much later?
It was probably when Mitchell Johnson got rowed out. I thought then we started to put our noses, you know, well in front.
And because that again, you know, the blame lies with Steve Smith. He just smelled that nick, which nobody else, even the keeper hadn't thought that there was a nick, and he somehow felt that there was a nick. And he's India's worst nightmare. Just take a look at Steve Smith's record all through this Australian summer. He has literally been the biggest nuisance and the biggest headache for the Indian team. In the one day at Sydney, he scored 105. In the test at Melbourne, he scored 192. In Adelaide, he scored 162 not out. At Brisbane, he had 133 not out, 133. And in Sydney, he had 117. And to add to all of that, to add to the misery and the pain, he scored a century in the semi-finals. Now, that's not good news. Dada, why couldn't we get him out? We almost seemed, when he was batting, we seemed to have particular field placements in mind. We seemed to have certain bowling ideas. When we were looking at the other Australian batsmen against Steve Smith, our pace bowlers seemed clueless.
Yeah, he's in his form of his life, Rahul Steven Smith. Even in the game against Pakistan, when Wahab Riaz was battering Shane Watson with those short deliveries and it was flying all over the ground, Steve Smith looked like he was playing on a different surface. He had all the time in the world. He got behind to the short deliveries and just dominated the Pakistan attack. And once again, yeah, there was Aaron Finch batting with him at the other end who was struggling. And Steven Smith got 100 in less than run a ball. It's just that at certain phases, batsmen go through the purple patches. Ask Andrew Salmons when Australia were 4 for 60 against South Africa in Johannesburg. He got 150 and took the game away. It was as if he was batting on a different surface. So you go through periods where you get to the spell. I think he's a terrific cricketer. I saw him a couple of years ago when he came to play for our IPL franchise. He had the enthusiasm, but he's utilized his enthusiasm and hunger to play the sport to become a very, very good player. And I think the best thing Australians did in this World Cup was to push him at number 3 and put Shane Watson at number 5. That was a master stroke from Australia, whoever has done it, because when you're in form, when you have the technique to score hundreds at test level in any condition, in South Africa, in India, in the Emirates, in your own country, you need to bat at the top of the order. And I think the Australians did a magnificent job by putting him at number 3.
Let's now take a look at some of the big questions that face Indian cricket. We've put down 3. Let's take the first one. Is it time to look beyond Mahendra Singh Dhoni with an eye on the next World Cup? I want to go across to Saurav Ganguly first. Dada, in that press conference that he did, Dhoni said that he's not tired, he's only 33, he wants to continue at least till the next T20 World Cup, which happens in India next year. But given the fact that the next World Cup is 4 years away, is it time to now begin grooming the next Indian captain?
See, Dhoni, as he said, he's just 33 years of age, and I completely agree with him. He's a good one-day player. If he feels that he should continue, he wants to play one-day cricket and he would go on till the next World Cup, I think that the selectors should probably sit with him and speak to him and find a way forward. He doesn't play Test cricket anymore, he's retired. And I don't think this is the right time to talk about captaincy, because he just lost a game against Australia. You know, let everybody go home, let the IPL pass, and then you sit down and decide what's the best way forward for this team. I don't think anything which would be done now is a knee-jerk reaction, and Dhoni has been very right in saying that we'll see how it goes. I haven't taken a call. 1 year later is the T20 World Cup, and then we'll see what happens.
Andrew, what would the Aussies have done?
Yeah,
and this is not in any way disrespect to Mahendra Singh Dhoni and his phenomenal accomplishments. This is just looking ahead to the next World Cup. What's the right thing to do?
Yeah, no, he's fine. He's right to keep playing. He's only 33. He's retired from Test cricket, so he's not going to be.
But he can't surely go on to the next World Cup, can he?
He won't. But that's 4 years away. A lot happens in 4 year period. You know, you can. That whole Indian team may change shape completely between now and then. So I think India need to get as much cricket out of him as they can, because he's still playing so well, especially in short form cricket. You've got your obvious replacement as a captain in Kohli, so there's no panic there as to who his predecessor
Nikhil,
will
what
be.
do you think?
I think it's too early. I think he's still got a lot of good cricket left in him, and Virat Kohli is still the vice captain. So in terms of grooming, he's there. And Mahendra Singh Dhoni, you know, he's done well in the shorter version. He's a phenomenal cricketer, make no mistake about it. The T20 World Cups next year, and it's too early to decide. I'm saying, for instance, even if you give Virat Kohli an opportunity now to build a team in the next World Cup, it's too much time.
Okay, let's
over
just
a period
listen
of 4 years.
to what Dhoni said in that post-match press conference about where he sees himself going into the future.
I knew the wicket will get slightly better in the second half. You know, when we lost the toss, I was a bit worried where I thought maybe the spinners won't get as much purchase, but I felt Jadeja and Ashwin, both of them, they bowled well. And on the hindsight, the good thing was we got a bit of reverse swing going. So I felt our fast bowlers could have done to ask me about my future. A very interesting answer. It's up to you guys. We should do the media should do a nice research on it. Take a few days. And my advice will be, whatever you decide, write the complete opposite. Yeah, that will be the fact. So, it's up to you guys.
It's good to see that his spirit is still okay, despite this big defeat. I want to come to my next question, and this might seem a bit controversial, but I'm asking, does Virat Kohli have the right temperament to be the next Indian captain? Because Mahendra Singh Dhoni is very cool under pressure, Dada. Virat Kohli, however, has a very aggressive streak about him. Now, he's done okay in the few occasions that he's been Indian captain, but looking into the future of Indian cricket, is Virat Kohli indeed his best replacement?
I think Virat Kohli showed a lot of skills in the test matches in Australia. The test match in Adelaide, which he captained, the test match in Sydney, which he captained, he showed a lot of skills. He will get better. See, someday or the other, Dhoni will have to go. It happens with every captain. It's going to happen in the future as well. Whether now, whether 4 years down the line, we don't know. As he said in the press conference, he said that you take a decision on my life, and I can tell you that it will be exactly opposite what you write. So he's made it pretty clear, and he's pretty open about it. So from that point of view, I don't think Virat Kohli has a problem. Every captain evolves with time, and just like everyone else, he'll also get better when given opportunity.
Nikhil, he's got a mercurial side, he's got an aggressive side. He got into a fracas with a journalist, he's got abusive with fans. Is he the right person mentally to be the next Indian captain?
Well, whatever problems he had with the journalist, it was outside the field of play in terms of cricket. Whatever the reason was, it's a different brand of cricket. Saurav Ganguly is a very calm, composed human being. But when it came to captaincy and when he was in the field of play, you saw an aggressive brand of cricket being promoted by him to go out there and fight, and that's how he got the best out of his side at that moment in time. Mahendra Singh Dhoni, completely contrast. Very calm, composed, got the best out of his side. It depends when the time comes with Virat Kohli's maturity in the next couple of years, whenever the banter has been given to him, how he can get the best out of the 10 guys playing with him, that would decipher.
What do you
Nothing
think?
succeeds like success, Rahul.
Yeah, I mean, he had that little problem at the start of this competition, and hopefully he's learnt from that. There's nothing wrong with the aggression on the field, but you do have to think, especially if you're the captain, and I can tell him from experience, you do have to be careful, and with social media these days, he's going to have to be very careful as well. But I think he can do it. He's just got to probably mellow a little bit.
But he says that's who he is, that's the kind of person he is, and he doesn't want to change.
I don't think he has to change a great deal, but he's just got to mellow a little bit so he doesn't run himself into trouble.
Okay.
Getting hot-headed.
Let's now come to the third question. Would the result of today's match, or could the result of today's match have been slightly different had Mahendra Singh Dhoni won the toss this morning? Dada, what do you think? That's the big question to my mind. If we'd put up, the third question please, if we'd put up like a 280, 300 odd score, batting first, how much of a difference would it have made?
If we would have put 300 batting first, pressure would be on Australia, no doubt about it. In a World Cup semi-final, 300 runs on the board, pressure would be on any side in this World Cup. But Australia are a good bowling attack. To get 300 runs against them would not have been easy, batting first, batting second. So let's not get into the ifs and buts. The real fact is that India lost the toss, Australia won it, Australia batted well, Australia bowled well, Australia fielded well, and Australia are in the finals of this World Cup.
Well said, Saurav.
Yeah, you like that. Of course you like that. The Indian fan mind, you doesn't like that. It would have been a fairer contest had we won the toss.
If we sit here and talk about the what-ifs, we'll be here for days.
Nikhil? Well, it would have been a closer fight for sure if India had won the toss.
Well, put it this way, I'm not saying that we wouldn't have got 300 runs, with the kind of bowling lineup that they've got.
No, it would have been under less pressure. Now, when you're chasing 329, that makes a big difference to the psyche of the batsman.
Rahul, winning the toss is not certain or is not confirmed that we'll go out there and get 300 runs or 320 runs or 250 runs. Yeah, maybe it could have been a closer fight or whatever, but I'm still saying this game could have been a closer fight. We got the start that we needed. maybe in the middle period, we lost a couple of wickets and the Australians came back hard at us, putting pressure. So in the last 10-15 overs, where the time was there to capitalize, we didn't have enough wickets in hand. So winning the toss, it's not certain that we would have got 320.
We would have had a closer match for sure. I mean, forget what the pundits are saying. We would have had a closer match had we won the toss. Unfortunately, we didn't, and that's life. So now let me come to the finals of this World Cup. And you've got Australia versus New Zealand. This is the biggest rivalry down under. Sourav Ganguly, who do you think is going to win the World Cup of 2015?
I'm backing Australia, Rahul, because they're playing at the MCG. They're not playing in New Zealand. I know New Zealand went past Australia in Auckland last month, although it was a very close game. Australia just got 150 and they almost won it. New Zealand won by 1 wicket to spare. But at the MCG, different grounds, they're not big enough. In New Zealand, MCG is a much bigger ground than any other grounds in New Zealand. The ball doesn't swing much in the MCG. We saw Trent Bolt and Saudi swing the ball in those New Zealand conditions. But you got to give credit to the way New Zealand have played in this World Cup, and especially Brendan McCullum. The way he has captained his side in this World Cup and made them into a force is really, really heartening to see. But I just get a feeling that this Australian juggernaut will be very, very hard to control. They've beaten Pakistan in the quarterfinals. They've outplayed India in the semi-finals, and New Zealand will have to play exceptionally well to get past them. So at the MCG on Sunday, with 80,000 Australians watching the game, I'm backing Australia.
But somehow the Kiwis seem a different side when they're playing Australia. Andrew, they're more pumped up. They want to take the big brother down. And I can tell you that 1.3 billion Indians, minus 2, Sourav Ganguly and Nikhil Chopra, will all be rooting for McCullum's side.
Yeah, I agree. Look, I think India-Australia should have been a close game. This should be a close game. But I just think, I agree with Sourav, I just think the Australians on the big stage, under pressure, I think they'll respond better than the Kiwis will, myself. And home ground advantage, MCG will have...
Lots of Kiwis are flying down, but they obviously can't be in the same numbers as the Indians.
No, there'll be 80,000 Australians there. And what a spectacle. Imagine being a player walking out there with 100,000 people come to watch you play cricket. So there's no incentive that Australians need more to play well. It's the game of their lives. I'd love to be out there.
The one problem for the New Zealand team, Nikhil, will be the fact that you've got far bigger boundaries. Melbourne is one of the biggest stadia in the world, and the parks that they've been playing in New Zealand, a lot of the top edges, the mistime shots are all going across the boundary, and that won't happen at Melbourne. That's going to go into some fielders' hands.
Absolutely, and Australia's been playing there for a long period of time. Like you said, the misses have been going into the boundaries. It's a different kettle of fish altogether. Make no mistake about it. But coming into the game, even for New Zealand, they've got plenty of confidence going, because don't forget, they had a good game in the group stage. They beat Australia. It was a close game. They beat them there. And also, South Africa, they chased down. So they've had 2 good games. So it's going to be one cracker of a spectacle. Make no mistake about it. But I still feel with the kind of balance and the firepower in terms of bowling as well as the batting, the Australians might just have more than their noses ahead come the final.
Okay, Sourav Ganguly, let me get you for a moment to strategize for the Kiwis. If you were helping McCullum try and figure out how he can get Australia out, or how he can help Australia, how would you help New Zealand get past Australia? What should they be doing?
It's simple, Rahul, if you ask me, and I know it will not happen exactly the way I want, because cricket is a game of uncertainties. Win the toss, bat first, get 300 and restrict Australia less than 300. It can't get simpler than that, but when McCullum and Michael Clarke walks out in the middle, it's going to be a completely different ball game.
That's one way of doing it. What are the others? If for example, poor McCullum ends up losing the toss, scoring 298 odd against this bowling attack is going to be a lot tougher. And that too at Melbourne.
Well, the Kiwis come out to bowl. When you're playing in New Zealand, it's been a different ball game, and they played all their games, Rahul, in New Zealand, where the new ball is swung. Come Melbourne, like today, that ball will not swing. And it's going to be a different line that you have to very quickly adapt, and a different length. When the ball's swinging, you want the batsman to get onto that front foot. And we've seen, if the ball's not swinging, with the Australian batsman, it's going to get dispatched very, very quickly. And all of a sudden, you start saying, well, the ball's not moving. We haven't been used to playing in these sort of conditions. How do you react to that situation? That will be key.
Okay. Andrew Simons,
yeah, I think
what should McCullum be doing to beat you?
Yeah, that's very well said. It's the same formula. They need to take early wickets and put the Australian middle order under pressure. And then Dan Vittori is an attacking bowler. He can take wickets in the middle. So that's what they'll be looking to do. But they'll have their individual plans for each Australian batsman, what lines, what lengths. They'll know their strengths and weaknesses in and out. So
New Zealand versus Australia for Australians is a bit like India-Pakistan, isn't it?
yeah, there's that little bit of, there's a personal touch to that game, absolutely.
But Dada, the Kiwi bowling is a lot better than the Indian bowling, and therefore it won't be that easy for Andrew Simons' team to beat New Zealand out for 329, even if they get to bat first.
Sorry, I didn't get your question, Rahul.
No, I'm saying that don't you think that the Kiwi bowling is a lot better than the Indian bowling, and it will be that much tougher for Australia to pile a 330 odd score even if they get to bat first?
This Australian team has a very power-packed batting lineup, Rahul. Don't forget about that. If it doesn't swing, the likes of Saudi and Trent Bolt can go the distance. So that's my worry with this New Zealand bowling attack at the MCG. If Australia win the toss again, every time they win tosses, they get 300s. Against England, they got 350. Against Sri Lanka, they got 370. And now again against India, they got 330. So when they get in, they pile up huge runs on the board because they've got some powerful hitters of the cricket ball. So if it doesn't swing for the likes of Saudi, the Trent Bolt and Corey Anderson, then Australia will be in for another big score. The good thing about New Zealand is they've got a very good spinner in Daniel Vittori. I think spinners will have a part to play in these big grounds in Australia, especially the MCG. So a lot of McCullum will depend a lot on Vittori. What stands out for me for McCullum in this World Cup is the way he's led this side. His field placements, the way he's gone about his job with the new ball has been a revelation. And I think that has passed on to the New Zealand side. It's going to be a very good contest. You know, you cannot predict cricket matches till they're actually played. I didn't expect New Zealand to get 300 and beat South Africa in the semi-final. But on paper, if you ask me today, Australia is a better side. They're playing at the MCG at home, and they're a very hard side to beat in their home ground.
But regardless of what Dada says, and I trust his cricketing acumen a lot, I'd still be cheering for New Zealand. That's really the underdog team, and that's the one we want should win. Let's now take a look at how the internet is responding to India's defeat. And as I said, some of the reactions are completely over the top. Here's Michael Clark telling Dhoni, "We tied our score to a Mocha rocket. What are you going to do now?" This Mocha has been quite the running theme all through this World Cup. Let's come to the next one. Can we cut to all of these full screen, please? Virat, तूने कैच छोड़ा है, मैं तुझे नहीं छोड़ूंगी. That's Anushka. Anushka Sharma is really getting it from the fans, unfortunately. Here's another one. "Darling, don't be late for dinner tonight. Don't worry, my love. I'll be back in a jiffy," says Virat Kohli. Let's take a look at the next one. Ravi Shastri telling Dhoni, "The Aussies thrashed us bad. What do we do now? Let's get all their IPL contracts cancelled." Andrew Simons. He gets all the IPL contracts cancelled. Let's take a look at the next one. There is the Mocha character again. For the first time, Nikhil, in this whole World Cup, the Mocha guy from Pakistan is smiling.
Well, at the end of it, he's been trying for 7 games, and finally, you know, against Australia, he's got an opportunity, saying they've been passing the baton.
Yeah, and some of the reactions from Pakistan say, all you did was play one more game than us. That's not such a big deal. Let's take a look now at some of the major tweets, Facebook posts that we've seen, reactions on social media. Here's Amitabh Bachchan. He says, "Okay, so we lost. So tell me one team in the world that hasn't faced defeat. Do not despair. We shall repair. Buck up, India," says the Big B. Here is the great man himself, Sachin Tendulkar. "Well played in the ICC World Cup, Team India. A tough game today, and a loss is always difficult to handle. But you've played some terrific cricket throughout, and all the fans have enjoyed watching you. Congratulations to Australia." True sportsman. That's the way to respond. Here is Ayushman Khurana. "I rate MSD as the best captain in the world of cricket, a living legend. Well played, Team India. We were unbeatable till the last game." Here is the young Aditya Thackeray. He says, "We must stand with our team. The men in blue, they've played fantastically in each of the World Cup games and endured 4 months being away from home." Here is Harsha Bhogle. He says, "India did many right things in the World Cup. Then they came up against a better team." And Dada, The fact is that the Indian team hasn't been home for 4 months now, and Dhoni hasn't seen his little ones. These people at one level would also be waiting anxiously to get back home to their families.
Yeah, they would be, but not in this manner. You know, Dhoni has been waiting for a while. He wouldn't have minded waiting for another 3 days. But I think that will be a good thing for MS Dhoni once he gets back. Once he takes his little girl on his lap, I think he'll forget the defeat of the World Cup. I'm not saying he will forget the defeat of the World Cup. The pains and the sorrows and the scars will probably be a bit lesser. But I think India have played well in this World Cup till they got up against a side who I thought on this particular day was better than them. But I think India has to find a way out to get better in overseas conditions. And I'm sure there'll be a time to think about that later.
Okay, what's the big takeaway, Andrew, from your perspective for the Indian team?
I think the way the competition unfolded, they didn't play a lot of hard games. And I think you obviously get seasoned to it. If you play a lot of hard games, you're better off for it at the end of the competition. And they needed, 2, 3 really difficult, tough games, I think, that would have put them in better stead for this last semi-final. But listen, they played well. You can only play the teams you put up against. And, they had a pretty good World Cup.
Nikhil, did the quarter-final against Bangladesh put the Indians in a zone of comfort, thinking that, okay, look at how we hammered them, when you actually played a far weaker team, whereas the Aussies came in after a tough fight against Pakistan?
No, I don't think so. They would have been in a comfort zone. I guess at the end of the day, we all know Australia is a terrific side. We would have had our tails up, but unfortunately, on that particular day, Australians just ran away with the game. When they got 328 runs, we got some of it back, in the sense that at one stage, the score would have been crossing 350, 370.
Yeah, Warren was speaking of 400. We didn't like that very much. He's completely over the top.
Yeah, but had Maxwell batted for another 7-8 overs, you never know. 350 would have been on the card.
Let's see how this game was played on Facebook. It's also very fascinating to see how this game is being played online, and some of the Indian responses and also the Australian responses. Here is Anand Mahindra. He says, I still bleed blue. Thank you for the music. The men in blue, what a party we've had. Dhanyawad, Team Dhoni. Here's one of India's biggest industrialists. Then there is Sonu Sood. I feel sad after the loss. Imagine what Team India must be going through. All I want to say is we are blessed to have a team who gave their best. Here is Shane Warne. Well done to the Indian team and fans for making this World Cup special. Unfortunately, MS and the boys were outplayed by the Aussies tonight. That unfortunately is true. Arjun Rampal, what a star and super ambassador of the game. Dhoni, we love you. The fans who followed and supported India, you guys rocked. Here is Farhan Akhtar. He says, great effort through the tournament by Team India. Stand tall. It took a team to play out of their skins to beat you. These are some of the more mature, sensible responses. Dada, quick final words from you. What's the big takeaway for Team India? Where does Team India go from here? They've given it back. The hashtag no longer applies. They will have to win it back next time.
I think the fast bowlers, I think Umesh Yadav and Mohammad Shami have been outstanding in this World Cup. For them, it's been a long tour, 4 test matches, tri-series and the World Cup. To go through such a big series without an injury, 4 months in Australia without any injury to them was a very special effort, and they got better as the tour progressed into the World Cup. Hopefully they will learn from it. Hopefully they will use this experience to be a consistent good fast bowler for India in overseas conditions. And I think the fast bowling has been India's biggest gain in this World Cup.
Okay, Nikhil, big takeaways for you.
I guess the most important...
Because somehow we produced these bowlers who bowl at 148, 149, but only for a season or two, and then later they come down to bowling at 120, 130.
Yeah, but I don't think these bowlers are going to drop down on speeds quite a lot.
No, they get hurt, they get injured, and they carry needles.
I guess that's the unfortunate.
No Indian bowler in recent memory has for 3 or 4 seasons consistently bowled at 145
I guess then,
plus.
Rahul, you need to come back and see the domestic structure as well. With the state sides, the kind of support staff that you've got, the trainers, you don't want too big a gap between the first class and the international side. Sometimes that's one of your biggest worries. But coming back to the Indian team, you'd want a stronger number 7. Make no mistake about it. Going into a top quality competition like this, you need a stronger number 7, somebody who can come out and bat. Jadeja, I guess he'll have to pull up his socks or he'll have to make way.
Yeah, Sir Jadeja, he's just not somehow worth the hype that's built around him. Well, this is where we call it a night. Sourav Ganguly, you've been fabulous. Thank you very much for being with us all through the World Cup. Well, the Indian World Cup is over. The World Cup, of course, isn't. Andrew Simons, you've been a fabulous sport. Thank you so much and well done. That blue jersey will have to wait. Mocha needs to wait for 4 years when it comes to getting Andrew to wear that blue jersey.
Baji keda?
There you go. There you go. So he learned some South Indian. Now he's also learned some Punjabi. Nikhil, good job there. We're heading into a break. News and updates continue when we come back on the other side. If you're an Indian fan, don't be disheartened. Victory and defeat are a part of life. Keep your chin up. Goodbye. Good night. Thank you very much.